answers? I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
I woke up this morning, got myself a gun. Mama always said I'd be the chosen one.
Why didn't this happen on Trump's watch? Iran was afraid of Trump. He killed the head of their Revolutionary Guard, Soleimani. Biden has yet to hit Iran directly. The Iranians could care less how many Houthis you kill. They could care less how many Iraqi militia you killed. The only way they will change their behavior and stop killing Americans and attacking our troops and trying to bomb ships in the Red Sea is for Joe Biden to hit their oil infrastructure and start killing their soldiers inside of Iran. I'm not asking to invade Iran, but I'm calling on President Biden tonight, go to the source of the problem. If you don't hit the Iranian oil infrastructure and hit them in the wallet and make them fear you, they're going to keep killing our soldiers. So, Mr. President, hit Iran and hit them now and hit them hard to protect Americans in harm's way.
Now, does that sound like a war hawk, or does it sound like common sense? Both, actually. That was Senator Lindsey Graham. There are many who say, oh, he's just anxious to get into war. That is wrong. He may be more anxious than some. But we have right now a war, or we're already at war with Iran. You do know that, right? We are at war with Iran, even as I speak. You're going to hear from the president, the White House, and defense secretary, and all the officials. Well, we don't want to really widen this and get Iran involved. They are involved. They're the ones supplying all the weapons and the money to all these rebels that are going after us. And keep in mind, this administration, when it went in, what it did with Iran. That's where Lindsey Graham started his statement. He said this was not going to happen during Trump because they feared him and they knew he was not going to be a friend of theirs, because Trump knows you don't make friends with terrorists. They're never going to be your friend. If they do, they're going to bring you a birthday cake, and they're not going to be in the room when you cut it. We got a lot to break down today, and a couple other things, as three of our troops, the three who were killed last Sunday, are being brought home, and there's some developments along that I want to share with you. Thank you for joining us. Here we are, Feb 2, 2024. The first 2 hours of Larry Connors USA, back-to-back for you. We're here every Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m., and reminding you when we're on the air, we're also streaming video at News Talk STL, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube. Also at Larry Connors USA, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. And reminding you, if you miss anything, be it audio or video, they are both posted as podcasts when the program is over at LarryConnersUSA.com or Larry Connors USA Facebook. There's every opportunity for you to hear them, go back and play it again, and to share with others. Please continue to do so. We are going into a very big election year, the biggest since 2016, really. Yeah, I'm ranking it even above Trump and Biden because of, obviously, the concern of what will happen this time with the ballots, and two, the situation we're on the world stage. Russia into Ukraine, China continuing to threaten to go ahead and move on into Taiwan regardless, Iran emboldening its terrorist groups to attack Israel, and in turn any ships in the Red Sea, and our U.S. troops stationed throughout the Middle East, and North Korea. There are people who are beginning to starve, and the North Korean leader is looking at, what am I going to do? I'm going to maybe go to the south, into South Korea. May just be talk. He's not starving, obviously, but he doesn't want to lose his hold on his people. So there's so many reasons to be concerned this time around. I had made a mistake in a copy I just put in front of me. I'm so glad I caught it just as I began to read it. I wrote Trump at Dover Air Force Base to honor the flag-draped coffins of our 3 troops. If he were president, he would be there. Joe Biden is president, commander-in-chief. He will be there. I hope to hell they took his watch off of his wrist. So as they're bringing the flag-draped coffins out, he doesn't do like he did the last time we had dead being brought back, checking his watch repeatedly, like he's got somewhere else to go, and like this is just really bothering my time schedule, sleep schedule, ice cream schedule, whatever. I have heard from some experts that constant checking of a watch or something like that, that's another parameter, possibly sign of dementia. I don't know. But what it looked like to the general public was total apathy, disinterest. I'm bored with this stuff. Get them off the plane. Get them in the hearses so I can get out of here. That's what it looked like. But yes, he and the First Lady will be performing one of the more solemn duties as Commander-in-Chief, and that is greeting some of our flag-draped coffins as they come back. All 3 from Georgia. They were in Jordan, of course, at Tower 22 when it got hit by a drone strike. It's all attributed to Iranian-backed militant groups, and nobody doubts that. Iran's not claiming it, obviously. But they're coming home, and, of course, their families will be there. And the president, obviously, will spend some time with them, as I pray he will, and that maybe it will help them some. Now, when this kind of thing happens, it should serve as a reminder to us of those who serve in our military. They were in their barracks sleeping. Somebody pointed that out to me. Well, they were sleeping. They weren't really doing anything. I said, what the hell are you talking about? They were there because that was their mission. They were not meant to be on duty, guarding at that point. They do have downtime to eat, sleep, and just, ease up. They don't have to, they want to be on constant alert, obviously, if something happens, but you got to get sleep and you rotate crews. Whether or not they ever knew what had happened to them, we may never know. Dozens of other troops inside the same barracks were injured, and some might end up being fatalities before it's over with. But there is nothing more solemn than flag-draped coffins. Biden, of course, had said the other day, well, we will respond. But, of course, not giving timing and details, and I don't want timing and details. I'll insist that over and over again. I do not want that information telegraphed to our enemy. But here you need to keep in mind, this was last Sunday when our troops were hit. Here we are Friday, and we've heard blah, blah talk, well, what we're going to do, but yet nothing is done at all. And I'm of the opinion, if they wanted to, they could have decided within 36, 48 hours, they should already have some targets located and just hit the hell out of them immediately. Then you can also do more later. Senator Tom Cotton, who served in our forces, has the same attitude.
It's not just waiting for 4 or 5 days since the 3 Americans were killed and dozens wounded, some critically. It's 3 years of Joe Biden's failed Iran policy. Secretary Austin admitted to me last year in a hearing that there had been over 80 attacks on American positions, and we'd only retaliated 4 or 5 times. And that was before the October 7th atrocity in Israel. Now, just in the last 3 months, it's been over 160. And we continue to look the other way, turn the other cheek, to shoot at empty warehouses in the desert. And it's sounding increasingly like that's exactly what's going to happen here. We are telegraphing what we plan to do. As Jennifer Griffin said, most of Iran's key leaders in Iraq and Syria have already hightailed it back to Iran. And it certainly sounds like the Secretary and the President have taken off the table entirely targeting Iranians or Iranian assets.
And yet that's what they should have been doing the first 2 days. I'm not sure I would have waited 24 hours. And, of course, there's an argument, well, which Iranian group did it? I mean, do we really know the Hezbollah, the Houthis were involved? Was it Iran directly? I mean, you know the source. That's really all you need to know. Again, we're hearing from them constantly, well, we don't want to do anything to widen the war. And every time I hear that, is that meant to be said to the American people or to Iran to say, hey, don't worry, we're not going to get really rough with you? John Roberts of Fox News raised that same question, basically, to Senator Cotton.
What we hear from the Biden administration, we don't seek war with Iran, we don't want to escalate, we don't want to broaden this war. It sounds like they're scared to death to do that.
Well, they are scared to death, and Joe Biden's been scared to death since the moment he took office. That's why we saw the fiasco in Afghanistan in 2021, why Vladimir Putin thought he could get away with invading Ukraine, and now why Iran thinks it can just keep shooting rockets and missiles and drones at our troops throughout the region. You know, they talk about they have to go through with exquisite care to identify whether Iran knew about this or that attack. Iran has been training and arming and equipping and advising all of these militias and terrorist groups for years. Who cares if they knew about this specific attack? They're responsible for what you see in Jordan that killed our troops, what you see with Yemeni outlaws shooting missiles at one of our naval ships last night. Frankly what you saw on October 7th when Hamas committed its atrocity against Israel. Iran is responsible for all of these things. And unless we take action like Donald Trump did against Qasem Soleimani in 2020, or Ronald Reagan did when he sank half of Iran's Navy in 1988, these attacks will continue.
They will. So whether we begin attacking today, tomorrow, this weekend, there's a delay time they've already seen, and to them it telegraphs a lot. Turning our attention to the illegals invading our nation, how leftist progressives try to hide any wrongdoing or try to overlook even attacks on police officers. As you hear what I'm going to play for you, that Quentin, when he brings it up, this actually did end up getting the attention of New York Governor Hochul, but I think her response was based not on law and order or justice, but her own self-preservation. We begin with the fiery remarks from the New York Police Officers Union president.
They brutally attacked a New York City police officer and a lieutenant. Our criminal justice system is upside down. It fails every day.
Governor Hochul behind the podium hinted deportation should be looked at for the migrants involved in the attack before saying it plainly and clearly.
Get them all and send them back. You don't touch our police officers. You don't touch anybody.
Republican Staten Island Congressman Nicole Malliotakis blaming politics.
Democratic policies at City Hall have made this much more difficult for our law enforcement than it needs to be.
But the road to capturing and convicting all of the attackers involved is getting rocky, as some have reportedly already fled the city.
And the problem that ICE has is that because the NYPD is prohibited from sharing information and the city is denying any detainer requests, it makes it very difficult.
While officials in Mayor Adams' administrations argue joint local and federal pursuit of the accused shouldn't be that tall of a hurdle.
If the federal authorities are able to get a warrant for the arrest of these individuals, we are allowed to work with them and participate with that.
Meantime, Assistant Commissioner Cass Daughtry posted this video to X with a warning to the suspects.
We will scour the globe to find you if you commit any type of assault on one of our police officers.
Good. And for them to say, well, if we get a warrant or request directly based upon a warrant, we will work with them. They assaulted your police officers in New York City. You don't need a damn warrant from the federal government. And here's the other part. The Manhattan District Attorney still will not comment on the immigration status of these folks, and yet at least two or more were staying in some of the, quote, migrant quarters they have set up. And a couple of them were released. They got immediately on planes and went to hell to California to get away from New York. Well, they don't want to face any more trials. And they were all but one released without bail. One of them walking out in front of the cameras, double barrel in your face fingers, because look at me, I hit a police officer, assaulted, and I'm walking free. Oh, they love the justice in this country. And Governor Hochul saying, get them all and send them back. You don't touch our police officers. You don't touch anybody. Does she really mean it? Or is she just trying to preserve her own political career? Then we have the situation similar in Chicago, like we do in other cities, where things just continue to escalate.
Set the scene for us with what's happening in Chicago with this migrant crisis.
Wow. Well, you know, this migrant apocalypse is really what I'm hearing now. Every Chicagoan that I talk to say that they've survived the lockdown, the looting, you know, the violent crime, and now they've got to deal with this migrant crisis that they believe it will be the death knell of Chicago, that Chicago is doomed. This is what I'm hearing from Chicagoans everywhere I go. The only industry that's really thriving in Chicago is the migrant industry.
The migrant industry. We're making good money there. We're buying all the hotel space and paying out all this money. Your money, I should add, to house and protect and prepare for them. And they want to say they're all migrants and they're not doing anything wrong. When they came into our country across the border illegally, they broke a federal law. Of course, we're not enforcing it. Oh, and then you look at Kansas. In the middle of Kansas, someone decided, you know what, maybe we can get some of them. They really want migrants, quote, illegals, to come there. Listen to this.
Topeka, Kansas, inviting migrants to come to its city, apparently has too many open jobs that are not being filled. So leaders there are offering $15,000 checks to anyone who wants to move. The city's Democrat mayor saying, quote, we have to have people here who are willing to work and make this the city they want to raise a family in, get a career in.
Now, they may end up regretting that. And the other question I have is it open to every American if they want a job? Can they get $15,000 and come there? And what parameters do you have to say? Or do you have to be an illegal to get this offer? The latest federal jobs numbers, quote, look good, but are they? The government jobs or related government jobs are mainly up. That's why it looks so good. The exact number on unemployment rate holding steady, and the employers in the U.S., according to the Department of Labor, added 353,000 workers to their payrolls. But most of those were either government jobs and or government-related, health services and so forth. We're going to break that down in more detail coming up, and also reference anything that's going to happen with our prices and interest rates. And then the other issue, before we're done in the next hour, Taylor Swift and KC Chief player, they're part of some kind of weird national security issue? Really? We'll get into that for you. But also coming up, illegals. We know they're all over our country, and yet this government continues to try to hide them. Well, they obviously can't hide them, but they're trying. We're going to give you a perfect example where they were trying to hide them basically in plain sight, but you're not allowed to know it. Why? Because they're inside a secure area at an airport. Lock and load. Ready. On the right. Visit.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
Pigeons, they are everywhere, and they're very good at dive bombing freshly washed cars. Wellington Environmental reminds you those droppings are more than a nuisance. They can be a major health issue, especially massive droppings on buildings or in parking garages. So who do you call to safely clean it up? You do what many hospitals, universities, public buildings already do. You call Wellington Environmental. Wellington Environmental has been dealing with all kinds of hazards for 35 years. Special people, special skills, special equipment. Wellington gets it done. So to avoid health issues ranging from pigeon droppings to mold to chemical leaks, contact Wellington, 314-644-4930. 644-4930. WellingtonSTL.com. Wellington Environmental. Your world cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Horace, Americans individually have lost over $4,000 in income and over $7,000 where you have a household with both parents working.
It shouldn't be, it's the economy stupid. We should just say, stupid! It's the economy. Unbelievable the devastation that Americans are feeling.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
What if everything you thought and believed to be true about owning and buying your home turned out to be wrong?
Straightforward, objective advice on the right way to make the most out of every dollar you put into your home.
We're the only country that has one of those. Most other countries, considering like Canada, the UK, they don't have long-term fixed-rate mortgages like that. They're all variable-rate mortgages.
HomeWise with Michael Midgett. Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Great news for my sponsor, Napoli Sea. And it's no surprise to me nor hundreds who have dined there. The first time I entered, it was clear Napoli Sea is unique. The decor, the fish, imaginative cocktails, and of course Napoli Sea is right next door to Napoli 3 in St. Charles. Napoli 2 is in Town and Country. The original Cafe Napoli is in Clayton, and I'm honored to endorse each of them. Visit any of the Cafe Napolis.
This is News Talk STL. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
So after the video this week showing migrants sleeping in the Boston's Logan Airport, one Georgia state senator captures new video showing migrants inside a hidden room at the Atlanta airport. Watch.
Yeah.
Transporting anybody anywhere?
Yeah, we're all getting them placed to where they need to be. Yeah, so these are just recently documented travelers getting released from ICE, getting to where they need to be.
Well, just let me get a video if you don't.
Actually, you cannot get a video.
No.
You cannot get a video.
No, you're not allowed.
You're not allowed. You're done.
You're done. You can't get a picture. That's a state representative of Georgia found that in one part of the Atlanta airport, on the second level, there was an area that various construction cones and things had been put up. Like maybe you don't want to go in there because you're working and you might get hurt. No, they were back there hiding illegals, migrants. And you heard the one person say, well, these are documented travelers. No, they're not. He said, well, then let me get a picture of them then. No, you can't. Well, why not? They're documented travelers. Why can't I? You know why. I know why. And they know why. And that is Georgia. Similar thing where that was Chicago, I think. Now I'm trying to recall. No, bottom line is it's happening in both. But I'm also looking at a piece. I want to go take you back to 2017, when Trump was in office. And the Trump administration was cracking down on illegals, undocumented migrants, immigrants, illegals arriving at our airports. So the American Immigration Lawyers Association, again in 2017, said those practices are getting more attention, so it's not new, so we're advising them, illegals, do not go to the airport. You might be spotted and picked up. Stay away from the airport. Now the airports are open for them, which then brings you the question that, well, can they actually get on a plane and fly? I'm glad you asked that, Larry, because I happen to have that answer for you as well. They basically are told, let me get exactly how I don't want to do. They're saying that for domestic flights, here's a guide from immigrationsrising.org, guide for undocumented individuals. Domestic flights, all travelers flying on a domestic flight must present a valid, unexpired photo ID issued by the state or federal government. Well, if you don't have that, guess what? The government will give you one on the spot. Whatever your name is, whatever you want to say it is, your age, that's fine. They'll put it down for you. So then you've got your documentation. So then the question is, well, can undocumented immigrants, of course, now you are documented, fly domestically? Yes, many can. Because now they are no longer, quote, undocumented. They have been documented. That means they gave them an ID. Wonder if they're also handing out voter IDs to them. I want to read to you from the White House official statement. This was a year ago tomorrow, Feb 3, 2022, 2 years ago, stating, last week the Transportation Security Administration confirmed they've allowed illegal immigrants to use their arrest warrants as valid proof of ID so they can board a flight. Do you have anything to prove? I have a ticket that was given out to be arrested. Okay, we'll let you on. What? They're using it as a valid proof of ID. And the Biden administration and their decision was, well, we're just trying to help them out. Well, of course you are. Have you thought about that maybe you're boarding a plane that there are illegals on board and the only thing they had to show was an ID produced on the spot by our government so they could get on board, or they produced a warrant for their arrest, and that got them on board. We'll look at another story. This one is November of last year. This involves Transportation Infrastructure Committee Chairman Sam Graves, Republican of Missouri, along with House Republican Conference Chairwoman Elise Stefanik, Republican, New York, then Aviation Subcommittee Chair Garriott Graves, Republican of Louisiana, Congressman Anthony Esposito, Republican of New York. They led 66 House colleagues in a letter to our TSA Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, opposing the Biden administration's allowance and encouragement of the use of airports throughout the nation as temporary shelters for illegals. Members of Congress citing reports the Department of Homeland Security has proposed housing 60,000 illegals, they say migrants, but illegals, at 4 public airports and other facilities in New York and New Jersey, as they had been doing at Chicago. They pointed out these airports are generally required to present a request permission, from the FAA before they use aeronautical land and facilities for non-aeronautical purposes like housing illegals. They wanted an answer from Buttigieg no later than November 2023. I've looked and I haven't seen where he's answered at all. He probably got this letter put it in my circular file, will you? What is going to happen? I pray it doesn't. But let's be realistic. What is going to happen when one of these gets on a plane? They've not been documented. They're not vetted. We don't really know who they are. They have an ID already maybe taken right while they were in the waiting center at the airport and with a name stuck on, or they're just given a pass to get on board the plane wherever it's going. And whether or not they're fully and securely checked as for any weapons, I don't know. If you're letting anyone that you cannot identify on board a plane, or you're just taking their word for it, I would suspect that they're not doing a good job in other areas of security. What is going to happen when someone like that gets on a plane and their whole intent is to be a terrorist? I'm not trying to frighten you out of flying, because I believe in flying. It's a safe way to travel. But at this rate, the danger and the risk increase. We do not have as many federal marshals, sky marshals, as we used to. A lot of them got pulled and sent to the border to help the Border Patrol agents. I know one of them. I don't know if he's still flying on the planes or if he's also at the border. I haven't talked to him for a while. You would never know that he's an agent carrying a gun on the plane if needed. And, of course, they're under strict restrictions on how and when to use it, certainly at pressurized levels and what kind of bullets and capacity they have. But we can't have someone take over the cockpit. You can say it's secure, but it does open from time to time, a pilot, co-pilot leaving, or someone taking something to them. It only takes that moment. We were talking about the job numbers earlier, and this is the kind of thing the Biden administration wants to tout and say, look what we're doing. We're doing so great. As I said, employers in the U.S. hired 353,000 workers to their payrolls, according to the Labor Department. Previous 2 months were revised upward. They were apparently underreported. Then they decided to move them up. These might be doing the same. And are they doing it to make things look just better and better under Bidenomics? It's not flying with the American people. Let me put it this way. An ABC News survey found 71% of those questioned, 71%, still think the economy is in bad shape. Why? Well, still the high prices and the interest rates. And the Fed is already indicating, we're at a point now where we're not going to need to raise the rates anymore, and we can even begin to pull them back some. Look at the timing. We're in 2024, months from the election, and we're going to continue to try to show we are in such great, solid financial shape. So Bidenomics works. That's what they keep telling us. And now they can adjust some figures and time some others so they can make sure that it goes down as they say it will. The problem is average hourly earnings, they say, grew 0.6% in the month. Now, they say that's twice as fast as expected. So that's another reason the Federal Reserve still think we need to worry about inflation. And I don't want to bother you with a lot of numbers. They're hard to follow, especially for radio. But they're looking for opportunities to do anything. I bet to buy gas yesterday. I wasn't even bothering looking at the price until I got to the pump and opened it. And it was, I think it was less than $3.25 for mid-grade. Oh, wow. Great timing, huh? In the next hour, you're going to hear former President Trump as to why you do not want Biden back in and why the UAW doesn't really want him, even though the leadership says they do. That'll be coming up in the next hour. But coming up, as I had stated earlier, there's a strange story going around about Taylor Swift and what?
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at LarryConnersUSA.
I got an email which brought a smile. A woman named Mary wrote me, "We are purchasing a new roof from John Beal based on your recommendation." I thanked her then. I do it again now. "Mary, I only endorse clients I believe in, and I've been a spokesman for John Beal for 10 years. It's all about trust. So if, like Mary, you need John Beal, trust me. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
The United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and the largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. The USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal agencies with free safety equipment donations and officer survival training, along with cash donations to families of law enforcement officers who perished in the line of duty, a citizen awareness program, and more. For more information on United States Deputy Sheriff's Association, please visit usdeputy.org.
I like supporting local companies that give back to the community. For more than 40 years, Vincent's Jewelers has helped raise more than $1.5 million for local charities. So I'm personally asking that when you're shopping for jewelry, give Vincent's a chance. And in turn, Vincent's will give even more to our community. On Olive, just east of 270. New specials every day on Vincent'sJewelers.com or Vincent's Facebook.
News, analysis, opinion.
USA, USA. That's a big game, man.
President Xi's really losing control.
People in China didn't ask me about people mowing each other down in the mall.
This is News Talk STL.
It is their responsibility.
Hate is a metastasizing agent.
We're all keeping a close eye on this.
Illegal immigration is crazy right now.
The United States is not being overrun.
News Talk STL.
It is a crisis at the border without question.
At newstalkstl.com.
Planning a move? I encourage you to call McGuire Moving. And they not only do moving, they can provide you portable storage. They'll bring a storage container to you. You fill it at your time and convenience. They'll pick it up, move it where you want it. Here's their phone number, 314-241-0600. 241-0600. Website, McGuireMoving.com. McGuireMoving.com. Locally owned.
This is News Talk STL. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
All right, this is one of these stories that have been going around, and there's so many pieces written on it, and by serious publications, because, in fact, I'm even looking at a piece of the Federalist, and here's the title of it. I'll come back to it here in a moment. Will the Taylor Swift deepfake scandal force Congress to get serious about AI pornography, artificial intelligence pornography? There is a piece of video and still shots, supposedly Taylor Swift naked and engaged in or close to engaging in sex with members of the Kansas City Chiefs. It's all AI created. But when you look at it, you don't know that. There have also been repeated searches on various search engines for that, and apparently most have been blocked and shut down. That was the last word. Now, I want to share this piece from Politico. Now, Politico is left-leaning for the most part, but it does have some serious factual information from time to time, and they deal with it. Just like NPR. They are really leftist, but there are times they can actually do a good, solid job of reporting, not putting their inflection, their tone, their taint into it. But I want to read this as it's presented in Politico by Laura Seligman. National security officials are used to shaking off absurd conspiracy theories, but the latest rumor that's gripped MAGA world just hits different. Should there be hits differently? I have to go back to my grammar, rework that one. Continues, the claims by Fox News and far-right influencers that pop star Taylor Swift is part of a Pentagon psychological operation, PSYOPs, to get Joe Biden reelected and somehow rig the Super Bowl to benefit Kansas City Chiefs tight end, Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce. They have been met with forehead slaps in the national security world. What? That's what they're saying. Now, one senior administration official, not authorized comment publicly, so he had to be granted anonymity. He said the absurdity of all this boggles the mind. Well, it does, really. That now the AI deepfake scandal, porn stuff, that is real and that has been happening. But now to try to tie it into there's a PSYOPs operation to get Joe Biden reelected involving her and also to make sure the Chiefs win. Oh, my God. Oh, my God, just think about this. If the Chiefs win Super Bowl, it's going to be automatic Joe Biden gets elected? Is that what they're suggesting? By the way, I don't know if you're a betting person. I dabble in some games from time to time. And the last I looked, the Chiefs were, it started out as a 1.5 down. I think now maybe 3.5. And I haven't looked again today. That's the odds out of Vegas that they're going to be beat, but not by more than 3.5. And the betting line was at last around 47, I think it was, as far as being over, under the total. Is that right, Quentin? There's my man right on top of it. It is a betting line at over, under is 47. Right there. Okay. Uh-huh. Oh, it backed out of it again. Because you're in Missouri trying to look up betting numbers, they think you're trying to place a bet. That's why it is. Yeah, and again, the point difference is 2.5. So the Chiefs are going into the game as the underdog. If you're betting money, what it means is if San Fran wins, but they don't win by more than 2.5, you're thinking, how do you get 2.5? Well, it's all in part of the mix of how they split the money. I'm not going to get that technical. Let's just say 3 points. 3 points is basically a home field advantage for a team. Well, this is not a home field advantage. They're playing in Las Vegas, and it is a Super Bowl. And they've both been, and in fact, obviously, KC has had great success in returning the Super Bowl as often. But now they're saying there might be a PSYOPs plan underway. This one senior administration official who did not want to be identified because he's not allowed to comment publicly, and also probably because I'm going to sound stupid if I say this. He says, the absurdity boggles the mind. It feels like one of those tell me you are a MAGA conspiracy theorist without telling me you're a MAGA conspiracy theorist. He said, let's go back to December. A wild theory gathering traction at that point, far-right corners of social media after Taylor Swift was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year on December 6th. And then last month, Fox News host Jesse Waters did a segment playing a clip from the NATO conference that he said backed up the theory that Swift was part of a Pentagon PSYOP, psychological operation, for combating online information. Waters is saying it's real. The Pentagon PSYOP unit pitched NATO on turning Taylor Swift into an asset for combating misinformation online. I didn't see the report that Waters said, but knowing him, that's a lot of tongue-in-cheek. And yet it may also be true that some of them want to use her as a way to combat misinformation because she is loved by young women and guys, and whatever she says, they're going to take us the real world. The Pentagon did respond, but the rumors have continued to proliferate, as you would imagine. And now they're adding this to it. This is, again, from Politico, and here's where they begin to just try to muddy the waters even more. They say, influential MAGA types. Who would that be? Who's an influential MAGA type? John LeBoutier? The guy that hates Trump? No, never. Now, I need to start that as a rumor. That John LeBoutier really is a Trojan horse for the Trump team. Comes on and battles me about what Trump is guilty of or not guilty of, and he's really a Trump supporter. I'm going to bring that up next time I have him on the air. Woo, you better stand back. You want to know how big that one's going to get. So anyway, with all the onslaught of all this coming forward, and here's the other thing. Kelsey has a relationship, a paid sponsorship with pharmaceutical giant Pfizer, and of course promoting the COVID and flu vaccines, showing that he's got the patch and gotten the shot. He's entitled to do that if he wants to. And I assume he actually got the shot and he doesn't have the bandage and is acting like it. But they say it's all part of the plot by the NFL and the Democrat Party for Swift to endorse Biden at the Super Bowl. And then faced with all these questions, a spokesperson for Pfizer said, we know all too well the dangers of conspiracy theories. Set the record straight. She is not part. Well, actually, he's with DOD, saying she's not part of a DOD PSYOP operation. Well, of course, then again, I mean, if she were, you think they're going to tell you? You see how this is a dog chasing its tail around and around. Never going to catch it. Another U.S. official said all this is laughable and couldn't even stop laughing through the conversation. And one official said, is this Trump team's new Comet Ping Pong Pizzagate? And another senior DOD official said, I mean, I love Taylor Swift, of course, but I haven't spent more than 2 minutes thinking about this. Oh, you know, if you're in position and power DOD, what I would do is use my authority and power and say, I need to come in and answer some questions. Have her come in and sit in my office with me. That bright red lipstick on TV was probably going to be a lot more vivid in person. And we just sit and talk. How you doing, Taylor? What's going on? You know, if you're not really into Kelsey, I'm sitting right here, you know. Now, retired Navy Rear Admiral John Kirby, of course, who is the National Security Coordinator of Information for the White House, said, I know who Taylor Swift is. I think she's dating a football player. Then reporters were asking, does the president believe her relationship with Kelsey is real? Kirby said, in the vernacular of the National Security Council, I can neither confirm nor deny those reports. Well, there you have it, my friends. What it is, I have no idea. I mean, I'm not talking about do you believe in Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or that Larry Connors is the greatest of ever, but where's that one going with you? All right, I want to turn my attention to another piece that Politico had. And again, this is a left-leaning publication, but it does have some factual reporting from time to time. And they did a piece recently about what Joe Biden is saying about Donald Trump behind closed doors. And then in a speech the other day, Joe Biden came close to saying the quiet part that he's been saying apparently behind doors, came close to saying it out loud.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
You want to give someone something which they will really enjoy? Give them a Cafe Napoli gift card. You pick the amount, and they pick which of the Cafe Napolis they want to visit. Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Cafe Napoli in Town and Country, Napoli 3 on the streets of St. Charles, or right next door, Napoli C. The Napoli gift card. It's the perfect gift for anyone, or your entire office. Cafe Napoli. Cafe Napoli.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Trump and his MAGA supporters not only embrace political violence, but they laugh about it. At his rally, he jokes about an intruder whipped up by the big Trump lie, taking a hammer to Paul Pelosi's skull and echoing the very same words used on January 6th. Where's Nancy? And he thinks that's funny. He laughed about it. What a sick... My God. I think it's despicable, seriously.
He was right on the cusp right there. In private, Biden, according to John and his colleagues, doesn't stop himself there. The president has described Trump to longtime friends and close aides as a sick, insert expletive, who delights in others' misfortunes. That's according to 3 people who've heard the president use the profane description.
I'm glad they gave us the F there before all the asterisks, because I was thinking sick puppy.
Yeah.
That's Joe Scarborough commenting with one of his reporters about the Politico article. It wasn't a sick puppy. Now, I have no doubt Biden might be saying some of that about Trump, and it's just words to that extent. Trump has probably said as bad, if not worse. Shameful either way, but sometimes people get under your skin or in your head so much you're just going to go. But some of the stuff Biden was saying was really over the line, is about taking a hammer to Pelosi's husband's head and talking about the attack that took place, and he's trying to tie Trump into that. Come on. Let me point out something. It was a year ago tomorrow, that a Norfolk Southern train carrying hazardous chemicals derailed in East Palestine, Ohio. Joe Biden has never been there in that full year. But we're told that later this month he will go and meet with residents impacted by that derailment a year plus later. And that came up at the press conference with KJP. And one question in particular, oh, this is hilarious.
The White House dodged a question about the possibility of President Biden drinking the water in East Palestine during his upcoming visit. Watch this.
When the president is in East Palestine, will he drink the water there?
I mean, look, what I can tell you is the president's focus has been to do everything that he can to support this community from day one. This is not about some sort of like political stunt here. This is not what this is about. This is about this president being a president for everyone and showing up for this community. That's what this is about. I'm not going to get into some sort of political stunts about drinking water.
All right, so you don't get into talking about a political stunt of drinking the water, but you want to tell me that him showing up is not a political stunt? Quentin, can we play that one more time? Because she repeats herself that this is not a political stunt. We're not about doing political stunt. And yet she then turns around and basically admits it is a political stunt because, keep in mind, when she said he's been concerned about them from the very beginning, and yet he never made time to get there until, looky, we're into the election year.
I mean, look, what I can tell you is the president's focus has been to do everything that he can to support this community from day one. This is not about some sort of like political stunt here. This is not what this is about. This is about this president being a president for everyone and showing up for this community. That's what this is about. Yeah. I'm not going to get into some sort of political stunts about drinking.
Right. This is about what this is about. How that woman can run right over her own words repeatedly and not recognize it. It's pretty amazing. It is definitely a photo op for the president and during an election year. He's not likely to get a really warm reception. And there will be someone say, hey, will you take a drink of this water? Because the water was contaminated, creek filled with hazardous chemicals. Then after a while, they told everybody, okay, it's safe to drink. And it may be safe now, but some are saying, well, we don't know what long-term effects may still be coming. And the president, though, is really concerned because he's going to show up 1 year and 1 day later. Well, I've got a lot coming up in the second hour, including more details of these guys who beat up on New York police. But I might not be here for the second hour, I should tell you, because on my phone I'm getting tweets right now from Taylor Swift wants to meet with me. So, Quentin, you may need to fill in. Now, I got to check this out during the break here. In the meantime, remember our pledge, one nation under God.
You can hear podcast of this program at Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
Make plans now to be at Lit Cigar Lounge this month. Lit is hosting numerous events. That includes live music. And there's an easy way to check on what is happening and when. You simply go to Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook. By the way, to go to Lit, you don't have to be a member. Everyone is welcome. Just another reason that Lit won Best Cigar Lounge 2 years in a row. Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield. Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield. Lit Cigar Lounge on Facebook.
News, analysis, opinion.
USA, USA. That's a big game, man.
President Xi is really losing control.
People in China didn't ask me about people mowing each other down in a mall.
This is News Talk STL.
It is their responsibility.
Hate is a metastasizing agent.
We're all keeping a close eye on this.
Illegal immigration is crazy right now.
This United States is not being overrun.
News Talk STL.
It is a crisis at the border without question.
At newstalkstl.com. Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis.
Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
People, this is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to join us for the Bluff City Outdoors radio show and podcast, where we talk fishing, hunting, camping, and everything else involving the great outdoors. Brought to you by Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The Bluff City Outdoors Show, Saturdays at 11 a.m. right here on News Talk STL.
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com, or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
I drive my bus in a busy city. That's why road safety is so important to me. I know that I must slow down and be extra careful when I make a wide turn. Buses need more room than cars. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're driving, remember to give buses plenty of time and space to finish turning before driving ahead. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Come join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
What if everything you thought and believed to be true about owning and buying your home turned out to be wrong?
Straightforward, objective advice on the right way to make the most out of every dollar you put into your home.
We're the only country that has one of those. Most other countries, considering like Canada, the UK, they don't have long-term fixed-rate mortgages like that. They're all variable rate mortgages.
HomeWise with Michael Midget, Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Hey, it's Nick Schroer. To preserve this nation, to preserve the experiment in liberty that our founders envisioned, we must take a stand and fight. Join me Sunday nights at 8 p.m. only on News Talk STL.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer. Brought to you by Missouri Wild Alchemy at MissouriWild.com. This is News Talk STL.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
According to the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, evidence reveals that President Joe Biden knew of, participated in, and directly benefited from his family cashing in on the Biden name. Through evidence uncovered in financial records, wire transfers from foreign entities, emails, testimony from credible IRS whistleblowers, texts, and transcribed interviews with the Biden family associates, the evidence paints a clear picture. Most intellectually honest and objective people would call this a smoking gun. But unfortunately, most members of the mainstream media do not fall into this category these days. That's why most Americans have turned away from mainstream media outlets. These media outlets have lost all credibility because they refuse to dig deeper to answer the legitimate and obviously newsworthy questions that many Americans have about the evidence showing President Biden's central role in his family's unethical business schemes.
Now, those are the comments and the opinion, I should add, of Tennessee GOP Congressman John Rose. It's his opinion that everything we've seen already, he says Joe Biden is deeply, deeply linked to Hunter Biden. And basically, there are reasons to impeach Joe Biden. He didn't bring those words up at that point, but to impeach Joe Biden on high crimes and misdemeanors. And treason is another one that falls in that category. John Rose is among others who think that we're not going to let this Hunter Biden story die. Hunter Biden, of course, is supposed to have a full deposition and then appear in a public hearing at some point. And then Eric Schwerin, one of their business associates at one time that mostly handled the money, not only for Hunter, but Joe Biden is under subpoena to testify. And Hunter Biden hates him and probably fears him. That would mean Joe Biden is the same, hates and fears the guy because what he knows apparently the books and how things were moved around. Now, whether or not he can prove it, that's going to have to wait, okay? It's easy to jump to conclusions, and I have an opinion that I tend to think that, yes, Biden is guilty in some things here that may well be impeachable. But I hear you. Larry, do you have the actual proof? I wish I did, but I don't. So you're just speculating. You're telling us what not to do, and yet you're doing it. Yeah, in a way I am. But we want to bring that back up because this story about Hunter Biden and Joe is just to their pleasure, just keep shoving aside. They're willing to talk about immigration and talk about Texas and razor wire, and they're willing to talk about immigrants in the nation already and what they're doing or not doing, and to battle over immigration law, but they really don't want to get back into impeachment issues. They think if we don't talk about it, it will go away. Well, it ain't going away, and we're going to continue talking about it. Thanks again for joining us. Here we are, Feb 2, 2024. This is the second of 2 hours of Larry Conners USA, and back-to-back right here for you, Monday through Friday evening. And reminding you, when we're on the air, we are streaming video at Larry Conners USA, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Also, News Talk STL, Facebook, Rumble, Twitter, and YouTube. And everything is in, after it airs, is put up, both the audio and video, as a podcast at LarryConnersUSA.com and also at Larry Conners USA Facebook. So if you can't hear and watch everything right now, you can always go back and pull up that particular date, program, and search for it. You're going to find it. It's all there. We don't edit it to make it sound better. Well, this really, you can't do enough editing to make me sound better. Come on. But we don't try to change facts or anything like that. If I make a mistake, I'm going to make a mistake. It's going to be there. It's on the air. As you're listening to it, it's going to be on the program. But I also encourage you, when you go back at your pleasure, please share that podcast with someone else so they can get involved. Now, a lot of people, I had a guy the other day said, so you have a podcast? No. I have a radio show, and then we produce a podcast from the radio show. Which brings me to, I might as well mention it right now, a lot of people think, they hear Joe Rogan. He's the only guy in the business really making a lot of money. And I just saw a piece that he just got a really big deal. I don't know if I can find it here fast enough, where he is going to be making all kinds of money by a deal he's put together for his, quote, podcast. So if I could do his kind of deal, you're right, I'm out of radio. I'll go right into podcast. He just struck a $250 million deal with Spotify, including distribution on YouTube. Well, they won't let me on YouTube, so I guess I won't get $250 million. Yeah, more think about it. Just look at this as a podcast, and you guys all send me $30 a week. How's that? I still won't get that $250 million. Now, an update on the impeachment effort, and this is the devil in the details type thing. First of all, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat, New York, rushing the Senate to a migration vote, probably by Wednesday. He wants to make sure there's little time for senators or voters to understand the 200-page rewrite of immigration law. Where have we heard this before? Oh, that's right, the Obamacare bill. And as Nancy Pelosi said, we won't really know what's in it until we vote for it. Congressman Todd Young, Republican of Indiana, was asking reporters after the rush schedule was announced, will Republicans have an opportunity to speak as it relates to this bill, perhaps even modify it? Congressman Republican Senator Kevin Cramer, North Dakota, said, details are going to matter. Next week could be a quick turnaround, but the thing about text and why it's so important is that the legal language matters a great deal. So they're suggesting the bill seeks to reduce Joe Biden's 2024 migration crisis by redirecting even more illegal migrants toward newly created legal doorways. We already know that was part of it. They've said we will allow 5,000 illegals into the country every month. That was part of it. Maybe 8,000. Kristen Sinema, independent of Arizona, one of the three Senate negotiators, admitted there needs to be a great deal of care in writing immigration laws. Even the most minor change can have unintended consequences. Well, that's true. But again, Senator Mike Lee, Republican Utah, demanding more time. Give us a month-long study period. But Schumer said, a few days are enough. You'll get it. You're fast readers. When they're trying to slip something by that fast, you know, they got their hand on your wallet already. Speaker Mike Johnson stating today, by the way, President Biden's staff is keeping him from taking executive action to stem the flow of migrants on the border. He has the authority. He knows it. I've documented it. But his own staff is saying, I don't think he can do that. And in the meantime, we have the situation in New York where police officers trying to break up a group of illegals who were wrestling or fighting each other. Then they turn on the police officers and start beating the hell out of them. Let's pick up that New York TV report.
They brutally attacked a New York City police officer and a lieutenant. Our criminal justice system is upside down. It fails every day.
Governor Hochul behind the podium hinted deportation should be looked at for the migrants involved in the attack before saying it plainly and clearly.
Get them all and send them back. You don't touch our police officers. You don't touch anybody.
Republican Staten Island Congressman Nicole Malliotakis blaming politics.
Democratic policies at City Hall have made this much more difficult for our law enforcement than it needs to be.
But the road to capturing and convicting all of the attackers involved is getting rocky, as some have reportedly already fled the city.
And the problem that ICE has is that because the NYPD is prohibited from sharing information and they the city is denying any detainer request, it makes it very difficult.
While officials in Mayor Adams' administrations argue joint local and federal pursuit of the accused shouldn't be that tall of a hurdle.
If the federal authorities are able to get a warrant for the arrest of these individuals, we are allowed to work with them and participate with that.
Meantime, Assistant Commissioner Cass Daughtry posted this video to X with a warning to the suspects.
We will scour the globe to find you if you commit any type of assault on one of our police officers.
Yeah, and Governor Hochul, again, as I'd said in the previous hour, she's saying, let's get them back. They set them free. They all went free on no bail except for one. And two of them immediately jumped on planes and went to California to get out of the state. And now she's saying, let's get them back. And do not tell me you need a federal immigration request to hold them. If they assaulted your police officers, that's a felony attack on a police officer. Not in New York. Then we got the situation in Chicago as a journalist reports what's happening there.
Set the scene for us with what's happening in Chicago with this migrant crisis.
Wow. Well, this migrant apocalypse is really what I'm hearing now. Every Chicagoan that I talk to say that they've survived the lockdown, the looting, the violent crime, and now they've got to deal with this migrant crisis that they believe will be the death knell of Chicago, that Chicago is doomed. This is what I'm hearing from Chicagoans everywhere I go. The only industry that's really thriving in Chicago is the migrant industry.
Yeah, the migrant industry. The NGOs, all the money we're giving them to take care of them, and the housing, the hotels, and the food. Those that are selling those goods and making those facilities available, they're making money. And then looking across the nation, surprisingly enough, in the middle of the country, you've got one city stepping forward and saying, hey, we will take migrants.
Topeka, Kansas, inviting migrants to come to its city, apparently has too many open jobs that are not being filled. So leaders there are offering $15,000 checks to anyone who wants to move. The city's Democrat mayor saying, quote, we have to have people here who are willing to work and make this the city they want to raise a family in, get a career in.
So $15,000 if you want to go to Topeka and get a job, does that mean just illegals? Or can anyone say, well, I'll go to Topeka for $15,000? Is there stipulation rule on how long I have to stay or where? In the meantime, what are we doing about Iran? Not just what we're doing today or this weekend, but going forward. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, he's ready for action.
Why didn't this happen on Trump's watch? Iran was afraid of Trump. He killed the head of their Revolutionary Guard, Soleimani. Biden has yet to hit Iran directly. The Iranians could care less how many Houthis you kill. They could care less how many Iraqi militia you killed. The only way they will change their behavior and stop killing Americans and attacking our troops and trying to bomb ships in the Red Sea is for Joe Biden to hit their oil infrastructure and start killing their soldiers inside of Iran. I'm not asking to invade Iran, but I'm calling on President Biden tonight, go to the source of the problem. If you don't hit the Iranian oil infrastructure and hit them in the wallet and make them fear you, they're going to keep killing our soldiers. So, Mr. President, hit Iran and hit them now and hit them hard to protect Americans in harm's way.
And then our 3 troops were killed last Sunday. They arrived today at Dover Air Force Base, President Biden meeting them, 3 flag-draped coffins. Hopefully he didn't spend his time looking at his watch as he'd done on a previous such event. But Senator Cotton says, he said days ago we're going to do something, but that was since Sunday, and here we are Friday. What the hell are we doing?
It's not just waiting for 4 or 5 days since the 3 Americans were killed and dozens wounded, some critically. It's 3 years of Joe Biden's failed Iran policy. Secretary Austin admitted to me last year in a hearing that there'd been over 80 attacks on American positions, and we'd only retaliated 4 or 5 times. And that was before the October 7th atrocity in Israel. Now, just in the last 3 months, it's been over 160. And we continue to look the other way, turn the other cheek, to shoot at empty warehouses in the desert. And it's sounding increasingly like that's exactly what's going to happen here. We are telegraphing what we plan to do. As Jennifer Griffin said, most of Iran's key leaders in Iraq and Syria have already hightailed it back to Iran. And it certainly sounds like the Secretary and the President have taken off the table entirely targeting Iranians or Iranian assets.
And how many times do we hear them say, we don't want to widen the war? And every time I hear it, I'm asking you to ask, are they saying it for the Americans to hear, or is it meant for Iran to hear? Well, John Roberts of Fox News asked a similar question of Senator Cotton.
What we hear from the Biden administration, we don't seek war with Iran, we don't want to escalate, we don't want to broaden this war. It sounds like they're scared to death to do that.
Well, they are scared to death, and Joe Biden's been scared to death since the moment he took office. That's why we saw the fiasco in Afghanistan in 2021, why Vladimir Putin thought he could get away with invading Ukraine, and now why Iran thinks it can just keep shooting rockets and missiles and drones at our troops throughout the region. You know, they talk about they have to go through with exquisite care to identify whether Iran knew about this or that attack. Iran has been training and arming and equipping and advising all of these militias and terrorist groups for years. Who cares if they knew about this specific attack? They're responsible for what you see in Jordan that killed our troops, what you see with Yemeni outlaws shooting missiles at one of our naval ships last night. Frankly what you saw on October 7th. When Hamas committed its atrocity against Israel. Iran is responsible for all of these things. And unless we take action like Donald Trump did against Qasem Soleimani in 2020, or Ronald Reagan did when he sank half of Iran's Navy in 1988, these attacks will continue.
And one of the things I said we could do short of attacks is impose sanctions again. No oil shipments are allowed to leave Iran and go to China, and they collect money so they can continue to fund their proxies. Well, the Biden administration must be listening to me to some extent. They announced today sanctions targeting the cyber arm of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard and their networks that would contribute to the Islamic Republic's drone weapon program. So supposedly we're hacking in so they can't control their drones. Is that what I'm to understand? That's assuming it's actually sent by Iran. They're involved anyway. That we know. Well, news here. News for you right now. Joe Biden is going to East Palestine 1 year and 1 day, or sometime later this month, after that train derailment that caused so much sickness, evacuations, and he kept saying, I care about you, but no, he really didn't. And in fact, a question got raised in the White House press room. And I got to tell you, KJP kind of went over the edge over the question. Also, if you were listening the previous hour, I told you I'm not sure I'll be able to finish the program because I'm getting texts from Taylor Swift. She has an interest in me more than the KC tight end, I guess. And I don't know if I'm going to have to leave during this hour or not, but we'll do what we can until I have to leave. And maybe I'll be moving. And if I move, I have a perfect mover. In fact, coming up, my guest has some inside information on how you need to move when you need to, for whatever reason. Oh, by the way, Fannie Willis is admitting, yes, I'm in a love affair. Lock and load, ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
Question, do you know what vermiculite is? It is an insulation in the attics of hundreds of thousands of homes and public buildings. Looks like kitty litter, but often contains asbestos. Wellington Environmental is the largest company in the Midwest that can remove that hazard for you. Wellington has what is called the General, a powerful industrial vacuum that can suck vermiculite out of the attic. Hang on, there's something else you should know. Many of you might qualify for up to a $4,000 rebate. You should at least contact Wellington to see if you qualify. And here's something else. Wellington arrives at the time they give you, not sometime within 4 hours. 314-644-4930. 644-4930. WellingtonSTL.com. WellingtonSTL.com. Wellington Environmental. Your world. Cleaner, better, safer. And be well with Wellington.
Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis. Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
People, this is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield has some great events coming up this month. Here's one to mark on your calendar. Feb 15. Scott Biancardi from STL Cigars will be hand-rolling smokes right there in front of you. Feb 15. Plus Stolock whiskey tasting. All happening at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield. I'm often in for a smoke. If I'm there, make a point to introduce yourself. And for more events, follow Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook.
Hey, St. Louis, my name is Rob Carter. My new primetime show will explore the collaboration between corrupt media and our corrupted political system. From manipulated elections, open borders, mandated medicines, and unconstitutional lockdowns, what is going on? The Rob Carter Show. Let's talk about it on The Rob Carter Show. Join me weeknights from 8 to 10 p.m. on News Talk STL.
Rob Carter, live and local, weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL. This is News Talk STL.
Well, I walk into the room, passing out $100 bills, and it kills and it thrills like the horns on my Silverado grill. And I buy the bar a double round of Crown, and everybody's getting down in this town. Ain't never gonna be the same. 'Cause I saddle up my horse and I ride into the city. I make a lot of noise, 'cause the girls, they are so pretty. Riding up and down Broadway on my old stud Leroy, and the girls say, save a horse, ride a cowboy. Everybody says, save a horse, ride a cowboy.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Welcome back. In full transparency, my next guest is a sponsor of this program. I like to do this from time to time with my sponsors, one, to show you our relationship and you get to better understand them, because what they offer, this is not to be a commercial, but just giving you expert information as it relates to their industry. And I was going to be interviewing Josh McGuire with McGuire Moving and Storage. They've been in business 80-plus years, but he had an emergency come up. Might have been because I sent a message that I'm really going to grill you, Josh. But anyway, Christine Hart-Dawson is with us. Christine, welcome aboard.
Hi, Larry. Thanks for making this exception and having me on today.
Actually, it's a much more pleasant voice than Josh come down to it.
Oh, thank you.
And let's begin with, obviously, there are a lot of moving companies, and I know you're in competition, and yet at the same time, you all share the same situation when it comes to dealing with clients. What is the biggest complaint that normally comes from any moving client going into the job and then after a job?
Yeah, sure. That's a really good question. Probably
that's what I do. That's what I do, Christine. Good question.
Yeah. Great question, Larry. So, in my experience, I'm kind of the one on the receiving end of a lot of the calls that come into our office.
Right.
And what we hear a lot is people have obviously moved in the past, not their first time moving, but they've had bad experiences with other moving companies, whether it be, a moving company not showing up at their scheduled time, right, or more often just damages from moves, things like that. They're usually a little more reserved when they've had bad experiences on who to hire next and who to try next.
Now, you mentioned damages. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Please go ahead, Larry.
Well, since you mentioned damages, that is one thing that is often reported. What's needed for a client to verify that it was this way when you picked it up and now look at it, and who's to say it happened during the move or after they had it in the house, something happened?
Yeah. So, typically there's a couple steps that we go through with a customer. One way that we make them feel more comfortable is our move coordinators go on site prior to the move just to survey their home and survey their household goods. to see what condition they're in, what type of household goods they have, how are we going to move them in and out of this house and in and out of that house. So, we kind of go through that process and have a lot of conversations. We can note damages in or have conversations about damages that are pre-existing at that time.
Sure.
But also when our movers show up, our movers also kind of are very thorough. But we've been doing this really long enough that we can also at many times tell if a damage is current or pre-existing as well. But at McGuire, we kind of operate a little bit more under a mindset of integrity with these things. We offer a standard. We kind of go a little farther than just like your basic 60 cents per pound that a lot of movers offer in a move. We offer what we call a standard valuation, which means during a move, if something is to break, we're either going to repair it, replace it, or, reimburse for it. And again, we just do whatever we need to do to make a customer happy in the end when it comes, to their furniture.
All I can tell you is that when Bubba brought his pickup over, he damaged some of my gear, and I didn't get a damn thing back. But I will tell you this. I do know that, and we're talking about, you mentioned going on site for estimations. I knew there are some companies that just say, well, how many rooms you got? 3 bedrooms, and then they just kind of estimate. And then the estimation is way off. So on site seems to me like the best way to do it.
It is. I think not everyone really realizes how much stuff they have. I hear that all the time. It's not very much stuff, and then we show up on site and it's, thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds that is actually being moved. So I think, again, when you live with your stuff all the time, you don't really realize how much stuff you have. And the move coordinator is doing just that. They're showing up on site and helping you sort through exactly what's moving, how much is moving. And then again, we're able to assess each piece of furniture and how we're going to approach each piece of furniture, specifically with the customer. But also we're able to get a better understanding of how much stuff, the scope of work, what type of equipment is necessary, where is the truck parking, how long is the walk for our guys. There's just so much consideration that goes into providing estimates for a move.
I know. May I interject? You mentioned the walk, the distance, and so forth. Often you're looking at a time limit that you give them as well. Is that correct? That you say
we do when we estimate. Yeah, when we estimate these things, we're telling them it's generally going to happen within from let's say 6 to 8 hours, right? And we're going to make sure that we provide a crew that's sufficient to accomplish a move within a 6 to 8 hour period of time. But we do give a range of cost when we're providing estimates, and the customer pretty much knows about how long it should take.
And again, being there where you could actually see the facility, I had years ago had someone, they came and saw everything. They made an estimate. Well, it was about 2.5 times longer because there was only one elevator they could use. They thought they could use both elevators, and it's a high rise. So, I mean, that's got to be taken into account as to what you're going to be able to use and when. What about the other thing? Most good companies should be bonded, right?
Yes, sir. And we are both licensed and bonded.
I mean, in every company, if it's going to be legitimate, should be. Because if they're not, that becomes a big issue. Then when you get into go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think you see a lot of that in our industry is just little mom and pop operations that are, just 2 guys with a van that are moving things. But again, are they insured? Are they bonded? Are those things that they can offer you should something happen to a building or your home or your household goods during that move?
Now we're talking about residential, but then you like some of the others also do commercial. What's the biggest issue in dealing with a residence, a home, and then a commercial or an office? Obviously, the amount of equipment, size of it, files, things of that nature.
Yes, and many times when we do commercial moves, the volume of what we're moving is much larger, and it takes more time to accomplish the move. But also, the pieces that we're moving can be quite different in a commercial move versus a household goods move. So, again, commercial moves need lots of consideration so we can see everything that's moving and determine, what's the best plan for getting everything moved from A to B. Many times commercial moves do have to go up and down elevators. Right. So not everything fits in an elevator, for a commercial move. So those are things that we have to consider as well. But we do lots and lots of commercial moves.
Do you have some things? Do you have some things that you say we just can't move that?
We don't like to say that. We do say that, but generally we'll check out the piece. We're very solution oriented. So if we can't do it, we'll know somebody that can help or that can work alongside our team and help with it.
And then you go from local moves to not just cross state, but international moves. Once it leaves our nation, what's the liability and the control of a moving company?
Well, that's an even, bigger conversation, Larry, but there's even more factors involved, once it's going to a different state, or as you mentioned, even to a completely different country. So there's so many more things to consider in terms of how it's getting there. What is your budget to get it there? What are the goods that are moving? Many times with international moves, customers have to really reduce what is moving because of the way in which it's being transported. But still, all the coverage that would apply to a local move is still intact, whether it's a long distance move or an international move. We guarantee our services regardless of where it's going.
You're listening to Christine Hart Dawson. She is with McGuire Moving. And again, in full transparency, they are a sponsor of the program. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. But there's also the issue of storage, or people preparing and putting their own stuff in a pod of some type that's delivered, and then they decide on their own time frame and so forth. That seems to be growing in popularity. What have you seen on the national scene?
We definitely agree that that's growing in popularity, so much so that we even brought in our own container division at McGuire Moving, so that we could be a part of the do-it-yourselfers that really want to, do some of the moving themselves and it be a little bit more budget friendly. So we definitely see that trend.
Maybe it's going into storage, right? Not actually, they don't really want to move anywhere, except they just need room, or they want to put it away. They're going to be overseas or gone for a period of time.
You got it. And we offer warehouse storage too. Climate and humidity controlled warehouse storage is something that we utilize on a daily basis. We're in and out of our storage facility every single day. But again, there are certain types of clients that works for versus the container storage. And that's why our move coordinators would help determine, what would be best for our customer.
So I call you up and I say, I have a large elephant I need to move. Hello? Are you still there?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I didn't know where are we going now?
A large elephant, Larry. Well, we've moved some pretty strange things.
Really? Like what?
In the over 80 years that we've been around. We've, like the types of artwork that we move for our customers and statues.
Right.
I've seen large Buddhas that we've moved. And again, when we're kind of getting into, artwork savvy customers,
sure.
We are definitely having to be solution oriented for some of those moves.
Well, again, I thank you very much. I obviously appreciate you being a sponsor, and my listeners are very loyal to my sponsors, and now they've gotten a chance to know you and McGuire Moving and Storage better. They did not get to know Josh, and maybe that's a good thing, but you don't tell him I said that. He'll be listening.
I won't tell him. He won't hear this at all, Larry.
Listen, I appreciate it. It's been a very enjoyable conversation, very informative, and I do appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the time.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Larry.
You bet. Christine Hart Dawson again, representing McGuire Moving and Storage in 80-plus years of business. She's not obviously that old, neither is Josh, but again, it is a sponsor. You make your own decision, but at least you got some information on what you should expect from any mover. And of course, I'm going to recommend you support our sponsor.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at LarryConnersUSA.
I'm always glad to have new sponsors, but I have turned some down. See, I only endorse clients if I believe in them. And I've been a spokesman for John Beal for 10 years. Through those years, listeners said they went with John Beal because they trusted me. And just recently, a woman named Mary wrote, "We got a John Beal roof based on your recommendation." Thank you, Mary. and all the others for calling John Beal, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811, brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Sometimes you want to do something extra special for someone. Vincent's Jewelers can help you. Maybe you want to do something for yourself. Mark a date, something you accomplished. It doesn't have to be anything really expensive, but it has to mean something now and for the future. Vincent's, locally owned, just ask for the chance to work with you, as they have with me. On Olive, just east of 270. Every day, new specials at vincentsjewelers.com or Vincent's Facebook.
The United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and the largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. The USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal agencies with free safety equipment donations and officer survival training, along with cash donations to families of law enforcement officers who perished in the line of duty, a citizen awareness program, and more. For more information on United States Deputy Sheriff's Association, please visit usdeputy.org.
One of the 5 most traumatic experiences in life is moving. I can assure you that McGuire Moving can help ease that pressure. Moving into a new home or a new business, locally, internationally. McGuire is rated number 1. More than 80 years of experience. Free estimate? Call McGuire, 314-241-0600. 241-0600. McGuireMoving.com.
This is News Talk STL.
Oh, Susie Q. Oh, Susie Q. Oh, Susie Q. Baby, I love you. Susie Q. Like the way you walk. I like the way.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Well, Fannie Willis has had to come to a conclusion that could not be avoided. Now she's got to try to explain her way out of it. And I don't really care about Fannie Willis's love affair, nor did I really care that much about Agent Smurf. You know what I'm talking about, the FBI agent, his love affair with Lisa Page, any more than you care about my affair with Taylor Swift. Oh, I wish I hadn't mentioned that one. Let me stick back to the subject of Fannie Willis here. She's now acknowledging, of course, she is the Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney. She's acknowledging developing as what she calls a personal relationship. Now, what does that mean, a personal relationship? I think, Quentin, is it fair for me to say we have a personal relationship? I don't think we have the same relationship. I know we don't. But she's looking to kind of dismiss and push this around. Keep this in mind, because her personal relationship, she says, never involved direct or indirect financial benefit to District Attorney Willis, who that would be her. She filed the response to allegations of one of Trump's co-defendants of a conflict of interest and an improper romantic relationship. That's different than what was their term? A personal relationship or a romantic relationship. It's a little bit different. She said in the court filing that the salacious allegations do not reach the legal grounds required for her to be disqualified from the Georgia election interference case. She wants to continue to going after Trump. All this goes back to the 2020 election case. And they are claiming, of course, that Donald Trump and his allies tried to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia. And, of course, that's yet to be decided. And it's one of the weaker cases of any that had been presented, but some are saying whatever Meredith had went out the window as soon as it became obvious that she had this relationship, however you want to qualify it, with the guy she hired to work on it. Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. Now, she, in accusations filed today, wrote again, the motion against her to get her taken off the case is salacious and designed to obtain media attention, as if what you're doing was not designed to obtain media attention. Now, I'm not talking about reference your relationship, but going after Donald Trump. And there have been records from the White House logs showing that she and Nathan Wade went to the Biden White House 8 or more times. What was discussed, and were they plotting to how we can build a case against Trump? They were dealing with legal issues, but what would Biden know about any legal issues involving Georgia and Donald Trump? Now, in an affidavit she attached, or rather that Wade attached, he insisted he was no more than friends with the district attorney prior to him being hired in 2021. He said, we developed a personal relationship. There's that word again, personal, not romantic relationship, in addition to our professional association and friendship. So one of the defendants, along with Donald Trump, said charges need to be dropped. Obviously, things are going on behind the scenes. Now, Wade at the time, about the same time, was in the process of divorce. And there's nothing like a scorned woman. And in this case, she's making it known that they were having the affair. Her attorney filed bank statements showing flights to San Francisco and Miami in the names of her ex, or would-be ex. That would be the prosecutor that she had hired, her investigator, Nathan Wade, and Fannie Willis. It's in their names, taking flights to San Francisco and Miami. There have also been reports that they went on various cruises. And she's insisting, I didn't pay him anything. She arranged for the payment. She hired him, paying him something like $660,000 when he does not have the legal expertise for the case that they're talking about. And as a payback or a friendly gesture or just an appreciation, he said, hey, Fannie, I'm thinking about going on a cruise. Want to go with me? We'll fly down to Miami and take a 7-9 day cruise. You want to go? Sure. And she knows he has the money because she authorized the money be given to him. He doesn't have to explain his personal expenses, except now because it involves her. So Wade's wife subpoenaed Fannie Willis, as I call her, for a deposition in the divorce case. That testimony is on hold after the Wades, both of them, reached a temporary agreement settling the matter. One of Jocelyn Wade's lawyers had previously accused of Fannie Willis of, quote, trying to hide under the shield of her position. All of this for the Trump team and the others that are supposedly accused of trying to steal the election in Georgia, this is like guts spread all over the road. You cannot get from one side to the other without stepping on something. Because whether or not she actually violated a federal statute, the perception, and by federal statute, let's say a state statute, the perception that they were kind of having some funny business, Fannie Willis business, and he was just taking her on trips. That's okay, except she hired him, and he has really no experience for it. No one can show any kind of background for them, and probably would have gotten away with it if he weren't trying to divorce his wife or get away from her. As I said, a woman scorned is not good. And often they may have rights. Last hour, in case you missed it, we were talking about illegal immigrants being able to fly on planes with you. In 2022, 2 years and 1 day ago, word came out of the Transportation Security Administration confirming, yes, we have allowed illegal immigrants to use their arrest warrants as a valid proof of ID to board a flight. And we've done it for more than a year. In other words, all the way back to 2021. Have you ever tried to do that, by the way? You show up at the airport and you don't have your ID. Make sure if you ever got a parking ticket or something, use your parking ticket. See if they'll let you on board. See how that goes. It won't. As you claim, no habla inglés, and I just got, in other words, I'm an immigrant, illegal. Well, then they're going to give you a pass. They will write you a ticket. They will print you a ticket. They will give you a seat assignment maybe, and you get on board. Whether or not they fully inspect you for any arms or any threatening weapons of anything of that type, it's not very clear. With the TSA admitting that, and again, that was back in 2022, and they admitted they'd been doing it for a year, it had verified at that time what we all were reporting, that in the middle of the night, the Biden administration was flying illegals from border cities, dropping them off in the middle of the night at some northern city, normally not a big metropolitan area, went in late at night, early morning, so no detection was made. And then when Governor Abbott and DeSantis started sending buses up, oh my God, they're forcing these people on these buses and sending them to areas they don't want to go. But again, reference to how Biden was doing this with the Department of Homeland Security and his Secretary Mayorkas, while you are still required to show a valid government-issued photo ID, illegals can simply use court documents that they got arrested to freely fly about the country. Is there anything there that sounds common sense? No, Larry, there's not. Thanks for asking. Thanks for playing the game. We'll move on. Let's forget it. Well, I'm not going to forget it because I'm afraid that at some point this kind of nonsense is going to end up in some kind of skyjacking that'll lead to a tragedy. I pray not. But we're opening ourselves up for that. We're opening ourselves up by leaving the border open. And Biden continues to insist, well, if I just had the money, I could shut it. He's got every law available to him already. It was already in place when he came in. It's only open because he's allowed it to be open. And Chuck Schumer now trying to push through a bill that would basically create a pathway of citizenship and allow 5,000 illegals a day. Over a year time, you're talking about another million coming in. But now they're going to have what basically is, we're certified to come in this time. They've already been doing that with their so-called parole program. This next election is so damn important. Do not take your eye off the ball. Well, of course, speaking about the next presidential election, the UAW the other day announced we're going to endorse Joe Biden for president. But then almost right after that, the UAW president admitted that most of our members will be going to Trump. And Donald Trump explains why.
If Biden gets elected, you won't have an auto worker working in the United States. Everything's going over to China and other countries outside. This electric car mandate is insane. They don't go far, they cost too much, and they're going to be made in China because they have the material to make it. We have a thing called gasoline. We have oil and gas. We have gasoline. And that's what people want for the most part. Now, I'll say this. If you want to buy an electric car, you should be able to. But if you want to buy internal combustion, if you want to buy a hybrid, if you want to buy, you should have everything for sale.
Everything for sale. That's what a free, independent country would be. If you want to get an EV and find that you can't get as far as you wanted to, and if it in the dead of winter you're running the heater and defroster, it runs your battery down quicker. Or you get to a charging station and they're all filled up with others. Maybe some had parked their car for the day and gone off to do something else. Or once you get to the charger, it's not going to be working. And for that reason, the Biden administration said, we're going to need more charging stations, more charging stations. If you've noticed the charging stations that they're putting up around hotels and our basic shopping centers, you have to walk a long ways to get to that charging center. You no longer can pull up in one of the closest spots. Just the inconvenience. And, of course, you're running past numerous gas stations before you ever get there. But, again, if that's what you want, you're entitled to it. Spend your money. And I hope it works out well for you, that you don't get in trouble during the summer, during the winter, or you have a fire in that battery and it destroys the car and maybe endangers your life. Well, of course, gasoline cars can blow up, Larry. Yep, they can. But with today's technology, extremely rare, unless you make an enemy of someone. And then, of course, you also have to watch out, even if you're driving a gas or electric vehicle, you need to be aware of this. Drunk drivers, of course. But if they're an illegal, stand by, you don't know how big this one is going to get. If you are an illegal in our country and you're caught drunk driving and you're convicted, the overwhelming majority of House Democrats have voted they will not have you deported. They will not have you deported. 150 House Democrats voted against Protect Our Communities from DUIs Act. That was introduced by Alabama Republican Barry Moore. That would make drunk driving grounds to be ineligible to be in the nation. In practice, it would ensure that Immigration and Customs could swiftly take those illegals convicted of drunk driving and deport them. And do you have any idea how many drunk illegals have killed Americans? Well, the Republican Moore said on the House floor, there was a newlywed couple from my hometown in Alabama. I knew them personally. They were riding their motorcycle together when an illegal immigrant under the influence of alcohol collided into them with his pickup. Their lives cut dramatically short. And sadly, tragedies, he said, like this are not uncommon. So the Democrats, who are all about no more guns that kill people. And where's some Mothers Against MAD at drunk driving? Where are they here? Why are they not shouting out here about this? And that's just the latest stupidity on behalf of some of the leftists. 155 voted against Tom McClintock, California Republican, on a bill that would ensure ICE agents can promptly deport illegals convicted of using Social Security fraud against you. They steal your Social Security number. They're getting things on your number. They get caught. They could be convicted, but they're not going to deport them. This country is open for crime from anyone at this point, and terrorism. We have lost our legal and moral compass. Pray every night that we find it before it's too late. Therefore, I always remind you to remember our pledge: one nation under God.
You can follow Larry on Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.